some diligent searching has turned up. Like another leg bone here, or at least part of one. Ooh, it keeps going. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my. There's more bone here than I thought there would be. I figured just what it was on the surface was all I would find, but nope. We're going down into the ground here. Well, hey YouTubers, Mike here. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to Nebraska in the White River Badlands. We come out here for about 10 days every spring, and sometimes we come back in the autumn too to go fossil hunting out in the White River Badlands of Nebraska. And it is a great time, and we're always looking so forward to it. And here we are driving into the Badlands on day one of our 10-day fossil hunting adventure. Once we get to where we're going to gear up and head out into the Badlands on the hunt. Well, we have arrived. First sight, first hunt of the 2025 season. We call this area the Flats. Fairly flat compared to some of the places we hunt. I mean, there's still a lot of hills, but there's not near as much up and down climbing. Less danger of falling to your death out here. And it has been a good productive area over the years for all of us. So we're going to start here and then work our way up to more exciting areas in the days to come. So everybody's finishing gearing up and we will head out. Yeah, there's only 5 of us this year. Normally where it's 10 or 12. But other people couldn't make it for various reasons, so hey, I just look at it as there's more fossils for the rest of us. But we're going to finish gearing up and head out. And hunting with Steve Vigari over there, Mr. Paleo Analysis. And hopefully we'll find some good stuff.
I feel like somebody let out all my backpack.
I think we'd have been out fossil hunting 10 minutes ago if it wasn't for all the problems Cena's having getting geared up. So I think we're ready to go finally.
That was great.
Mike's not waiting around. He's heading out.
I'm waiting. Roll out. We got water. I got some water.
Even though we call this the Flats, it takes a little negotiating to get in and out of, but it's not too bad compared to some of the other areas we hunt, which is borderline mountain climbing. So got to start hunting the minute you hit the Badlands material. We've had people find stuff right at the grass line. So, got to hunt our way in and hunt our way out if we want to find stuff. Not just sort of walk in without looking. Alright, so here's my first actual fossil find. I've actually walked past a few pieces of bone and probed around to see if there's anything else, but here's a little piece of Paleolagus, ancient rabbit jaw. There's some teeth up here. There's some teeth down here. There's part of a tooth right here. So obviously all this stuff is washed down from higher up. So I'm going to scan the surface of this hill really closely uphill from this and see if there's anything else. I'm going to look also further down. See if there's anything else, but little fragments of jaw and tooth like this are fairly common out here. I'll probably have a whole nail apron full of them before the end of the day. So, yeah. So let me look around some and see if there's any more of this animal around. The jaws and the teeth seem to survive when everything else has weathered away. So Steve Vicari of the Paleo Analysis channel he just waved, but I zoomed in, has found what looks like limb bone from an oreodont, and he's trying to tease all the little pieces out, and hopefully there's multiple bones there. We'll find out.
Yeah, we had exposure right here, and I already pulled those bones off, but it seems to be going into the hill, so hopefully there might be more attached.
Yeah,
right there.
keep looking. Hopefully. All right, I can go back to looking for my rabbit. I'm not hopeful, but maybe.
Yeah,
So I'm not having much luck finding any more of that rabbit. There's some scattered tiny bones over here, or bone fragments actually, over here, the top of this little hill. So I imagine these are parts of that rabbit, but really there's nothing significant to try and recover. Another little bone fragment right there. So I'm hunting other stuff. There's some more bone fragments over here by this shard of broken beer bottle. These are much bigger. I'll probe around here a little bit and see if any of this leads to anything. And again, look uphill because most of the stuff is, I'm sure, washed down from higher up. Yeah, so I'm lingering in this area for a little while because there's a lot of bone fragments here and some tortoise shell too. Bone. You can always tell it's fossilized bone by how it ticks like that when you hit it with your pick. Some fossilized bone here. Again, I think it's just fragments, but you got to dig every one you see to make sure it's not the end of a bone sticking out of the mud. I'm sure these are just little fragments that have been washed down from higher up. So, again, got to investigate a little higher on the hill, see where all this bone over here is coming from. Maybe I'll find something eroding out that's not too far gone. Well, I'm in another area, and there is just a whole lot of bone fragments here. Just tons of them. And I'm right on top of this little hill, so I know that the critter must have eroded out right here. And the rain and whatnot is washing the bones down here. So I've been probing around up here to see if there's any part of the animal still buried that I can try to excavate. So far I'm not finding anything. I'll probe around a little more before I move on. But yeah, there's a lot of bone here. Just fragments of it everywhere. Once it's exposed, the elements just tear it apart into these little fragments. So hopefully there's still some buried. Let me probe around some more and we'll see. So the ground out here is just absolutely littered with bits of fossilized bone. It's all over the place. It's down this way too. And there's a piece. 999 times out of 1,000. They don't lead to anything, but you gotta investigate every single one. For that 1 in 1,000, that's a partially intact fossil you can collect. I'm gonna work my way over towards an area where I found a lot of stuff in the past. It's gonna take me probably an hour or two to wander over there, given I'm gonna hunt my way over there, not just blindly walk. But we'll see if there's any good stuff over there and see what I can find along the way. So on most of these hills, the only stuff you'll see on them that's not this popcorny bentonite clay is fossilized bone, or maybe modern bone. But every once in a while, and actually it's more common than we would like, you get these lines of fault lines through the clay hills here. And these fault lines fill in with minerals. Crystals. This stuff looks like maybe calcite. And this stuff, erodes out and does a really good job of impersonating bone or camouflaging bone that's here. So these areas where the fault lines and the crystals are kind of annoying. But I also keep an eye out because every once in a while the fault line, instead of filling up with what looks like calcite to me here, fills up with chalcedony. And I can collect some nice pieces of that. But this is just one of the annoying fault lines. The crystals are neither pretty nor helpful. So they're just in the way. So let me walk away from it. And see, here we go. Now we're above that fault line, and everything you see on the ground is bone or tooth now. So keep looking here. So I just spent a couple of minutes digging this out. Just a piece of a limb bone, nothing special. But it looked like it was going back into the hill. So, but really, I don't think there's anything else back in here. Sorry about filming in my shadow. Yeah, I think that's it. Unfortunately, that's all there is to it. That and this little piece here. So, hopefully sooner or later, I'll find something good here. But the day is still young. Haven't been out here for too long yet. Okay, so here's a little bit bigger chunk of tooth and jaw. That's almost certainly Orionot right there. That's quite a bit bigger than the rabbit that I found earlier. And by the way, here's a good comparison. See that crystal right there? That does a really good job of looking like a tooth, even though it's not. It's just inorganic crystal. There's tooth. Let's see. That's not tooth. That's not tooth. That's not tooth. There's some bone up here, though. So I got to look around this area a little bit. But I will certainly collect that little piece of Orionot tooth and jaw and see if I can find any more of the critter in this general area. There's some more bone back here, little bits. So let me look around here a bit. So looking around when I find something pays off, because sometimes I find other stuff. So here's a piece. It's a tooth. So this is a tooth. So this is a nice little tooth with roots attached. I'm not 100% certain it's Orionot. That's always a good guess out here. It seems a little big for me for Orionot, but the wear surface is so worn it's hard to be certain. So there's that. Let me put that over there where I can find it again. Then there's this. This is the enamel from another tooth. Again, I am not certain exactly what critter it is. I will get some clarification on that from one of our experts later. But I'm going to keep looking around this area and see if I can find anything else. And just uphill from those two, part of another tooth with root. Okay. So, what's this? There's another piece right here. Although I'm not sure this is from the same critter. These teeth look pretty small. These are definitely Orionot though. So, yeah, there's a lot of teeth in this area. I'm not sure they're all from the same animal. Possibly we've got just an area where a bunch of animals or their skulls washed together in an ancient river and got fossilized, and now the pieces are being exposed. But I'm going to look around this area for more, just in case. I'm finding good stuff. I got to keep looking. Alright, I found another couple little fragments of tooth. There's bone, tiny shards of bone scattered everywhere. See how they go washing down these little washes and collect fossilized bone. But I think whatever critter shed all this stuff must have come totally to pieces, because I am not seeing any intact bone sticking out of the hill anywhere. It's all just tiny fragments on the surface. I think this critter's done. And I think I'm done with this hill too. I'm gonna keep moving. I still got a long way to go to get that little butte I need to go around to get to the hill I want to be on. So I found that's the end of a fairly large limb bone right there. I don't know, maybe a Humerus. I don't know. There might be more of it here. I'm down in a wash, so this is disarticulated, I'm sure, and washed down here from something else. But this is a pretty big critter. Let me continue digging and see if this is more of the bone. I think it is. And see if there's more beyond that. Okay, that seems to be all of the bone there is. Just the articulating end of the bone. This other thing is just a rock. It was doing a good impersonation of bone, but it's not. There doesn't seem to be anything else here. It's an interesting find, though. I'll probably throw it in my nail apron. Take it back. But I'd like to find a little more of an animal than just that, or the teeth. Still working my way towards where I want to be. Some fairly big fragments of bone here in this area. So, gotta stop and investigate, just in case it leads to something good. It's a partly buried chunk of bone right there. There, you know, there's some bone up here. There's some bone. So yeah, another critter eroded out of the hill here. Let me poke around a little bit just to make sure I'm not missing anything, because sometimes right below the surface is the rest of the critter. Well, what in the wide world of sports have we got here? That's an interesting little piece of jaw with teeth in it. Unfortunately, it's all disarticulated, laying in a wash down here. It could have come from anywhere. I mean, I'll certainly keep my eyes open, but this could have come from hundreds of yards away. Oriodont's always a good guess, but this one I'm not so sure. This would have been one of the larger species of Oriodonts, if so. That's a pretty robust jaw. Again, I'll have our experts look at it. But, yeah, finding bigger stuff. That's good. Of course, I'm getting a long way from where we came in, so, you know, this area back here, probably less thoroughly hunted. The further you get from the so-called road, the more fossils you're going to find. So Leslie and I have found each other out here in the Badlands, and we've stopped to have a little lunch. It's not quite noon, but we're going to sit here and eat. We don't want somebody getting hangry. We've climbed up to a fairly high spot in the Badlands here, so we've got a little bit of a breeze. It's downright warm down in the lower parts where there's no breeze. It's getting hot out here. And the sun's reflecting off this light-colored clay really bad, so you get it from above and below. But gonna have some lunch, refill my little water bottle, and then get to looking again. Well, Mike and Sina have joined us at the lunch spot here. Everybody's having lunch except for Steve, who's way over there. So he'll probably find some good stuff while we're all sitting here feeding our faces. Okay, lunch is over. I'm back on the hunt. I'm getting really close to the area I was aiming for, and I'll tell you what, there is a lot of tortoiseshell here. Back in the Oligocene, these land tortoises, they were as big as Galapagos tortoises. I mean, these pieces of shell, they're gigantic. This was a monster tortoise. But what happens is, once they weather out of the hill, the freeze-thaw cycles out here tear them apart in no time. If you want to find a tortoise, you got to find it when it's just starting to show. Not like now, because, you know, a few years or a decade later, there's nothing left but pieces all scattered down the hill. And really, to be perfectly honest, I don't want to find a tortoise this big anyway, because it would have been a monster. And with the plaster jacket it would have taken to hold it together to get it out of here, it'd probably weigh 350 pounds. And there's only 5 of us out here on this trip. Get it out of the Badlands and back to the truck. not be an easy feat for 5 of us. So I'm looking for something a little bit smaller that once prepped you could just put on a shelf for display rather than one of the monsters. We've taken a few monsters out of here over the years, but hopefully not this year. Anyway, I'm in the area of hills I want to look at, so wander around here and see what I can see. Well, here's some big pieces of limb bone. Oh, I might have to dig that out. Wonder if they actually fit together. They look like they ought to. Oh, it's bigger than I thought. It was deeply embedded in the mud. This was embedded too. Let me see if I can jigsaw these 3 pieces together to make a hole. I might want to take them if they do fit. Another little piece right there. That looks like another little piece right there. Alright, let me see if I can get them together. Well, there's a few little bitty missing pieces at the breaks, but they do fit together to form a hole. So this is a whole leg bone from something. You know, when in doubt, they say Oreodon out here because it was such a common animal back in the Oligocene. Not like anything we have today. The whole line went extinct, and there are no modern descendants from the Oreodonts. But they were a very common animal back then, amongst those very strange mammals that ruled the earth between the end of the age of dinosaurs and modern times. That could be Oreodont. And then looking uphill here, it's a little sharded tooth right there. So, yeah, this area here I don't think gets hunted very often, so that's why I like to come back here every year and look around. So I will collect these 3 pieces. Of course, I cleverly left my backpack over where I was having lunch, so I don't have foil to wrap them in. I may have to go get the backpack because maybe we'll find more good stuff over here. Well, I'm going to wrap these 3 pieces in foil and put them in my backpack for safekeeping. Actually, I might put them in my little lunchbox over here for safekeeping. I'll look around. I'm sitting on top of the hill up here, pretty close to it where I found this. I'll look around up top and downhill to see if I can find the other articulating end of the bone. That would be a nice find. I had the whole bone. Not hopeful, but I'll look. Gotta look. All right. Let me get this wrapped up and look around. Well, I've gone down slope looking for that other end of that bone, and there's just a lot of bone down here. I don't see anything that looks like it will jigsaw against what I've already got. I may need to dig that one. There's another big piece of bone there, but what I also caught my eye over here is we got some coprolites, and they are big ones too. That is a big coprolite. Wow. I'm not sure what animal pooped that out 50 million years ago, but I bet he grunted a little bit. Most of the animals out here aren't that big. Huh. I thought I saw another piece here too. Yeah, there's a piece. Right there. Oh, and look. Teeth in a jaw. And more teeth in a jaw. Little ones and big ones. Wow. Alright, yeah, a lot of stuff is washed down the side of this hill. My pack's up there, where I found those bones. So there's a lot of interesting stuff down here, including big coprolites. Alright, so let me collect these teeth and jaw pieces and look around down here and dig that piece of bone I see eroding out up there, and I could be here for a while. Yeah. It's a good spot. So that little shard of bone down there, that's all it was a little shard, broken off of a much larger bone, probably a limb bone I would imagine, from something, but it's pretty unidentifiable in this state, so I'm going to leave it. So, but you got to dig. Sometimes, you know, you find something. It's like down here, we've got some more stuff. There. End of a limb bone, and here's the end of a limb bone. I think the pieces are too small to bother with. Still, I don't see anything that relates to the bone I found up higher up, but there's certainly a lot of bone down here. So I look around these hills. There's a lot of bone on them, and not everybody comes over this way. So look around some more. So looking around a little more, I found a ball end from, I don't know, maybe a femur. I don't know if that goes to the bone I picked up or not. I mean, odds are maybe not. There's just a lot of bone down here. And there would be another, at least one more missing piece. So I'm going to collect it just because it's an interesting piece of bone. We can show it off to the kids in our educational program, but I don't really think it's part of what I've already found. But there's just so much bone down here, everywhere. Keep looking, maybe I can find some more jaws and teeth, and eventually, maybe a whole critter, but I'll probably have to hunt higher up. This is clearly an area where a lot of stuff has been washed down in pieces by water action. So probably not going to find anything whole down here. Well, I've come across an area with a lot of modern cow bone shards in it. Every once in a while, one of the rancher's cows dies out here and the predators tear it apart. There's bones all down this way. Coyotes and whatnot out here. So, yep. But these are not fossilized. Not what I'm looking for, unfortunately. Well, I found the remains of another tortoise. This one's not as huge as the one I saw earlier. This would have been a good size to dig if I'd found it just starting to erode out of the hill. But there's almost nothing left of it. It's all eroded out, been torn apart by the freeze-thaw cycles, and the waters from the rains has washed it all down into the wash down there. There's no putting that all back together. I mean, it's the world's worst jigsaw puzzle, and I'm sure a lot of pieces would be missing even if I tried my best to collect them all. So, nope. I have a few tortoises already in jackets from previous hunting trips. Someday I need to prep them, but there's no way in the world I'd be trying to dig this one. Nobody in their right mind would. And there's still a lot of other hills to look on, so maybe I'll find a tortoise in much better condition. Or something else. Preferably something else. Like I said, I already have a couple tortoises. So here's an interesting little shard of bone. The inside of it has been replaced by some sort of translucent crystal during the fossilizing process. I'm thinking maybe calcite. It's probably the most likely thing. That's kind of a cool example of that. I've seen it out here before. This is like the biggest piece I've seen with solid crystal center. Very interesting. I'll tell you what else is interesting. The weather's starting to get interesting. Looks like we got a pretty bad thunderstorm over there. And we got some stuff over there, and we got some stuff on the other side of this hill, which you really can't see from this angle. So it looks like we got storms on three sides of us, which it's a little bit scary. We have to keep an eye on the weather because it doesn't take much rain to turn these hills of clay into what the locals like to call gumbo. And gumbo is impassable. You can't walk on it. You can't climb it. It is as sticky and slippery as axle grease. And guess what? All the roads out here are made of this stuff. So they turn into impassable quagmires as well with just a little rain. So we got to keep an eye out. If it looks like it's really coming this way, we need to head back to the truck and start on our way out. Okay, now I found something interesting. At least it's piqued my interest. See that bluish color? That is a shard of enamel from a very large tooth. Very large. That tooth could have been the size of my fist when it was whole. This could be Titanothere tooth. More likely, I would say it's some sort of rhino, either Hyrachodon or subhyrachodon. So this is the big stuff here. So I found this shard here. I'm almost at the grass line. I'm up pretty high. This area is worth a once over, just in case there's more of this stuff eroding out. I wouldn't mind finding a whole jaw with teeth in it, or better yet, a skull with teeth in it. That'd be great. So definitely gonna give this area a good look over before I move on. Well, I couldn't find anything else after a good look around this area, but at least it tells me there's at least the rhinos were here. So in the future, this is an area I come back to every year anyway. So in the future, I'll know to look for rhino stuff here. Of course, I look for anything I can find, so I'll just know that's another possibility out here. Maybe I'll look down this wash a little bit. Oh, the wind is getting up. At least it feels good. It's a hot day. Have a little breeze is nice. I think the storm is getting a little closer, though. Gonna keep an eye on it. Yeah, I'm gonna go look around this wash down here, see if there's any more rhino stuff before I move on. So I found 3 more little shards of rhino tooth here. I'm probably 100 yards or more away from where I was, or on the other side of this hill, still up near the grass line now. So clearly the rhino stuff is a little higher up. Okay, good to know. And also some more little teeth in the jaw. I am not certain what that is. I will have our experts look at that. I don't know if that's orient, something else. I don't know. I'm going to look around this area some more, see if there's anything else here I might want to collect. There's Steve from the Paleo Analysis channel over there. Mike and Cena behind him, way behind him. I'm not sure where my wife is. Oh, there she is, way, way, way over there. A little pink dot's her. So there's an old saying in gold prospecting, which is another one of my many hobbies, is that look for gold where it's been found before. And my corollary to that is look for fossils where they've been found before. Now clearly a fossil was dug out of this hill sometime in the past, a couple of years. Actually, I think it's one I dug out a couple of years ago, Orient skull. Some hills can be very productive, so I'm going to search this hill and see if anything else is popping out of it. Maybe we'll get lucky. Well, yes, spiraling outward from that spot, some diligent searching has turned up. Like another leg bone here, or at least part of one. Ooh, it keeps going. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my. There's more bone here than I thought there would be. I figured just what it was on the surface was all I would find, but nope. We're going down into the ground here. Let's see how much of this bone we've got, and if there's any other bones here too. We might have the whole bone, both articulating ends. It's in 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 pieces. But the whole bone's here, it looks like. Yep. Okay. Once again, I have walked away from my pack where my aluminum foil is, so I shall have to go get that. And I'm down in a pretty low area where I'm going to have trouble finding this again, so I better take my walking stick with its orange end on it and put it on a prominent spot right above here pointing towards this so I can find it again and get this wrapped up. And I'm starting to hear thunder. Just on the other side of this hill is the nearest thunderstorm. Oh yeah, I don't know if the rumbling's coming through. Anyway, let me get this wrapped up and continue looking around this area some. This is turning into a productive area. So you find a fossil and you need to go get your backpack or some other kind of equipment and you walk away from it. How would you ever find it again amongst all these hills? How in the world? Well, what you do is you leave it marked somehow. And then you just got to find the thing that you left to mark it, which in this case is my walking stick pointing downhill towards the bone I'm digging out. So, yeah, that works. Okay, now that I've got this whole bone out, and it is a whole bone. See the articulating ends, both articulating ends. I'm going to wrap it up for safekeeping and probe around here to see if there's any more. If there is more bone in the area, there might be more stuff below the surface here that I need to find. So definitely going to spend some time probing around. Okay, I've spent a lot of time digging in this area right here where I found this bone. I found a few shards that have obviously broken off of that bone. But I found some other stuff too, like this, which I am pretty sure is a small vertebrae. So obviously, either it did not come from this animal, size difference there, or maybe it's like a vertebrae from the tip of a tail. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to put it with that for now and just wrap this up and put it in my lunchbox for safekeeping until we get back out of the field. But for now, I can't find anything else here. Over here is a bone that's just so destroyed, I cannot even, imagine how to collect it. It's going to fall apart. Another piece of a leg bone over here, but it's just a random piece of leg bone. I can't find anything else related here. I'm going to look around a little bit more after I pack this bone up, but I think it might be time to move on. This is a good find, though. A whole bone with both articulating ends. That's pretty cool. Well, the rain has started. And guess who cleverly forgot to pack his raincoat in his backpack today? That's right, me. Hey, at least I can serve as a bad example. And wow, that is some cold rain. It's a hot day. Freezing cold rain coming down and hitting us. So I'm making my way back towards the entrance point. I can see my wife Leslie ahead. She remembered her raincoat. I can see that. She's all in yellow up there. So I don't know if people are ready to leave yet or they're going to try and weather it out, but I may go wait it out in the truck if I can get there before I am soaked to the bone with this ice water. So I'm just waiting out the rain in the truck. We'll see if it quits soon and it doesn't get too wet out there. I'm sure we can go back out. If it continues raining or gets harder, we'll probably have to call it for the day. We'll see what happens. Well, the rain eventually stopped, but it had rained hard enough for long enough that the whole axle grease effect thing started happening on the Badlands. We couldn't effectively hunt anymore out there. It was just too slippery and sticky. So we decided to take off and head back to Fort Robinson, our base camp, and try again tomorrow. So stay tuned. I will show you what I found today, and then we'll head out again tomorrow for another day of hunting in the Badlands. We'll go to a different spot, see if we have any better luck. All right, here's the day one haul. Not too bad for first day back in the Badlands and just getting my bearings back on fossil hunting out there. Not too bad. I got a couple of bones here. I'm going to just use these as practice for my restoration skills. Glue them back together. This one is not complete. This one is complete. I've got all the pieces here. So like I said, just practice gluing it back together and see how it looks. There's nothing really special about these bones. They're probably Oriodont limb bones and, well, just good for practicing my restoration. Down here, well, this is a cow tooth. This is not even fossilized. This is modern, so. But I found it. I kept it. Got some other teeth down here, some Oriodont teeth, possibly an Oriodont incisor here. Probably another Oriodont. Probably more Oriodont teeth here and here. And down here we got some tiny little rabbit teeth, probably. Ball end from some limb bone. A big shard of rhino tooth. Oh yeah, that's that funky. I found this piece of bone here. The entire center of it had been replaced with crystal, which is kind of cool. Not sure what that tooth is. These over here, we had a little debate amongst the experts. This could be horse, but it's not definitively horse. Possibly horse. Just a boat end. Some of this stuff, a lot of this stuff probably is actually, I'm just going to donate it to the Fossil Club. They make up packets of Badlands bones and fossils to sell at our fundraising auction. So I'll probably donate a lot of this stuff. I may keep a few choice pieces for myself, but most of it I think is going to get donated. And of course, these will get restored to the best of my abilities. Okay, stay tuned for day 2 out in the Badlands. All right, heading back out into the field for day 2. And since there's only 5 of us, we're not eating the dust of the lead truck this time. We are the lead truck. We're the only truck. And it's great not to be eating somebody else's dust as we head out into the Badlands for day 2. We're going to go to a different area today and see what we can find. Okay, we just hiked in. I didn't film anything because my hands were full. We're all carrying equipment to be left at this central drop point here. See, our truck's way up there. It's a bit of a hike downhill. It'll be a tiring hike uphill when we leave, but talk about hills. My goodness, look at this. This is a very vertical landscape, much more vertical than where we were yesterday at what we called the flats, which is kind of a joke there because it's not flat at all, but this is crazy vertical here. All right, so we're all going to split up and do our own thing and see what we can find. I'm going to head over towards that big hill because I know at the base of that hill there's a nice fluvial deposit where a lot of stuff washes out, though there hasn't been much rain in the last year since we were here last. It may look exactly like it did the last time we were here, but I'm going to work my way over there and see, hunt that area, and then just hunt the random hills and see what we can find. Hopefully some stuff has managed to erode out since last year. That would be nice. Well, I'm down in a wash, making my way towards where I want to be. The going's a lot easier down here than trying to hop from hill to hill. That's pretty much impossible, actually. The hills are far enough apart that you have to come down and go up and come down and go up. And there's nothing but, usually, there's nothing but little disarticulated, broken pieces of stuff down in these washes. But every once in a while, I mean, there's some tortoise shell. That other piece was some bone. Every once in a while you'll find like a whole tooth or piece of a jaw with teeth in it or something down here. So, you know, it's not a complete waste of time to walk the washes. And there's some more, looks like tortoise shell. You're probably not going to find a whole animal down here though, just pieces. But if you do find something interesting down here, you can figure out, well, which hill did it come down and wind up here? So, anyway, I got still a fairly long walk. This wash is very serpentine through these hills to get back to that big hill in the background where I really want to be. And I need to climb part way up it. And I'll tell you what, it is still early in the morning and already it is hot down here. Kind of out of the wind here. The sun is beating down and it's beating back up off this light surface. And I'll tell you what, by this afternoon, Mother Nature's going to have this place set to broil. Probably going to go through all my water today, I would imagine. So, yeah, it's going to be a hot one. All right, let me continue walking. I'll show you anything interesting I find along the way. Well, I may have found something interesting already. I think we might have some bobcat tracks here. They're a little big for coyote, and I don't see any claws. Cats can retract their claws, so we might have some bobcat tracks out here. We have seen mountain lions out here before, but I think that's a little small for mountain lion. So bobcat, I would not be surprised. All right, I won't make yummy noises as I walk. So that's the wash I was following down there for a long way, but I've climbed up because I've got to get up to this little flat plateau up here at the base of this big hill. That's where that big fluvial deposit is. We always check it every year because there's a lot of stuff over there. There's bone and tooth everywhere. It's all jumbled up, generally. Sometimes you can find whole teeth or whole bones, but usually it's a jumble. On the way, checking out everything I see. Looks like just random tortoise shell. Yeah, more back here. So, you know, I'm going slow. Eyes on the ground, watching. Just look up every once in a while for a course correction. I get to this plateau. Yeah, here we go. I'm at the base of this plateau here. And there's just monster-sized chunks of bone everywhere. This is definitely Titanothere beds. Titanotheres were big animals. Big as modern rhinos, or bigger. I mean, big, you can see compared to the tip of my walking stick how big these chunks of bone are, and there's even bigger ones up there. We also got some tooth down here. That's a bit of tooth enamel, Titanothere tooth enamel. It seems to fossilize blue and really glows out here if the sun's out. There's nothing else blue in this environment. So I'm going to look around the edges of the plateau, up on the plateau, and some of the hills around it, because there is just bone everywhere here. And every once in a while you'll find something good. You know, some people have found some stuff down in the washes between these hills too in the past. So I'm going to search this area really good. I may be here for an hour or more and just give it a really thorough search and see what we can find, because I have pulled good stuff out of here too in the past. I'm not going to bother keeping that. I've pulled whole teeth out of here the size of my fist from Titanotheres, so going to look for the good stuff, see if I can find any. So I've worked my way up onto the plateau here, and so far I haven't found anything worth collecting. But this hole, my home away from home, I spent like 4 days digging in this hole over 2 seasons and got, I don't know, a 100-pound jacket out of here with a jumble of Titanothere teeth and bones and ribs in it. Someday we'll prep all that, but that was an interesting time. So just look at almost everything you see on the surface here is a bone. This is just eroded out of this cliff over time, and it's just laying here. I mean, some of them are huge, like that. That's either the end of a big Titanothere bone or part of a scapula or something. But you know, it's all broken up for the most part. But I got to look through it really carefully. There might be some good stuff here to be found. There's Steve Vicari of the Paleo Analysis channel up there on that hill. Hunting with him again this year. Okay, I found something worthy of closer investigation. It's a big chunk of Titanothere tooth right here. Now this is just a tiny shard of that tooth. That should give you some idea just how big the Titanothere teeth were. So there's a piece here. There's a piece here. So, and then is this piece? This might be a piece too. So I need to probe around this area with my pick and see if I can find any more of this tooth, which might be buried, in which case we can glue it all back together, or some other teeth, which might be in the general area. So let me get to probing and see what I can find. Oh yay, after doing a little digging, there is more of the tooth here. It's kind of crumbling, unfortunately. The freeze-thaw cycles have had their way with it. But here's another huge chunk of enamel. I'm collecting a bunch of pieces of the tooth up here. I don't know if it'll be worth trying to glue back together, but I am finding a lot of the tooth. Here's some more of it here. There's little bits and pieces scattered through the dirt. And I need to dig. There's another piece. Dig deeper and see if there's more here. So at least I'm finding some stuff over here, so that's great. Well, I didn't find enough of that tooth to make it worth reconstructing or trying to reconstruct. I'll take all the pieces with me, though, for sure. But as I was hunting around looking, found something going back into the hill here. I'm not even sure it's related to the tooth. There's just so much bone debris around here. It just could be another random piece of bone, or who knows, maybe it's one of the roots of the tooth. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to continue excavating backwards carefully and see if it leads to anything, or if it just sort of peters out into another little broken shard of bone. You got to follow them, because sometimes they lead to good stuff. Well, that's it. That bone didn't go very far into the hill. Came out in 2 pieces. I put it with the tooth. I don't know if it's part of the tooth or not. Hard to tell. I'm going to bag all this stuff up and go back to hunting. So Steve Vicari has joined me over here, so is Mike S. We're all looking around. Here's something interesting. I think it's interesting anyway. So here's a chart of bone, fossilized. 50 million years or so ago, when this bone was fresh, rodents were gnawing on it to get the calcium. See that? You see their tooth marks in there? They're long gone, but their tooth marks remain through all this time. Kind of neat. A lot of these bones have been gnawed on. And there's a lot of bone here. Boy, there's a lot of hills. It's not quite noon, and it is getting very hot, and I think, what do I spy with my little eye? I do believe that's my wife. Way, way, way over there. Okay. We'll probably meet somewhere in the middle and have lunch. Your hat's up in the wind's doing weird things to your hat. At least up on top of this little hill there is some wind, so we chose this as a spot to, up here on top of this hill, to have our lunch. So there's a little bit of a breeze, although it's a pretty warm wind right now. It's getting hot.
At least it's a breeze.
At least it's a breeze, right? Well, I'm not exactly certain what I found here. It's definitely bone. It may just be one bone that's been disintegrated by the weather, freeze-thaw cycles and all, or there might be more there. So I'm going to have to probe around. What I'm seeing on the surface doesn't look too exciting, but maybe there's something below the surface. Gotta check. So let me get to probing. Yeah, just what I thought. It's just the remains of one fairly large bone that's been destroyed by the weather. There doesn't seem to be anything beneath it or around it here that's bone. You can tell the clay is pretty soft. The bone is hard because it's fossilized. It's basically rock. And really, I am not feeling anything at all. So, oh well. Keep looking. Find something eventually. Okay, check out what I just found. That is part of a tooth. Maybe a fifth of it? I said the teeth on these titanotheres are bigger than my fist. I wasn't kidding. So yeah, that is a huge chunk of enamel there. I found it right there, laying on the surface. Saw it from down the wash where I was walking. I'm like, what is that up on the side of the hill? And had to climb up here and see. It doesn't look like it's buried here. I'll probe around a little bit, but I suspect it came from higher up. So I'm going to look around here and then higher up and see if I can find any more of this critter. This thing was a beast. Ooh, okay. A whole new area of Badlands to hunt. A few more hours to the day, if I can stand the heat, don't run out of water. There's a whole bunch more hills to hunt. You never run out of Badlands. And if you're not finding fossils, you're basically just not covering enough territory. There's plenty of territory here. So let me get to covering it. I'll show you anything I find. So what was that I was saying about if you're not finding fossils, you're not covering enough territory? Well, I'm going to amend that to say maybe you're covering the wrong territory, because I have not seen so much as a fragment of bone or a bit of tortoise shell in at least the last half hour or more over here on these hills. Now, from a distance, I saw something on the side of this hill over here. I'm going to go investigate that. But, wow. Yeah, this is starting to look like a fossil-free zone over here. I may head up higher and over that away. Back towards the area where we were seeing more fossils. Because this is nuts. I'm ruining my boots and my knees and I'm not finding anything. Well, there's a great big honking bone. Unfortunately, that's a modern cow bone. It is not a fossil. Probably not more than a few years old. Not what I'm looking for. Nope. Well, there's a welcome sight after climbing back up out of the Badlands over here. Steve looks about half dead. I don't blame him. We took what we thought was going to be an easier way up, carrying all the equipment up. And I think it turned out to be harder. Whew, we are beat. Girls are behind us somewhere. Mike actually found something worthy of putting a small plaster jacket on, so he may be a little while. I think the rest of us are done, though. And here's the end of day 2. We're heading back to Fort Robinson again. And, whew, another super hot day. We're all hot, sweaty, hungry, thirsty, and just wore out. And we may take the next couple of days off and do some touristy stuff because they are predicting just absolutely broiling temperatures out in the Badlands for the next couple of days. So we'll see. Anyway, I will lay out the stuff I found today and give you a close-up look at all of it. All right, so here's today's take. We were out in the Titanothere beds today. So most of what I found is Titanothere teeth. I found a small bone end out here. I will probably donate that. In fact, I'll probably donate a lot of this stuff to the club for auctioning off. They auction off little baggies of Badlands material. Well, pretty big baggies. Anyway, what have I got here? Well, I've got a big chunk of a Titanothere tooth. Too bad I've only got about 1/5 of it. That would be a nice tooth if it was whole. Here's like the tip of a Titanothere incisor. Some miscellaneous shards of Titanothere enamel and dentin. And this is all part of one tooth I found sort of trailing down a hill. Really not much value to it. I may keep this piece and this piece and donate the rest. We'll see. Anyway, not a bad second day in the field. Looking forward to day 3. Though I think I said earlier we might take a couple days off because the heat is going to be brutal out there. And it was bad enough today. I don't know if we can stand 10 degrees warmer out there. So, okay. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'll take you along the next time we go out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to see future fossil hunting videos. Bye.